Hey there, gang. For this week's Clown Community Lab, y'all suggested that I run this here new player clown build. And with Five Nights at Freddy right around the corner, what better time than to showcase a new player build on Clown for all of the new people that might be coming to the game and might be looking to play him. Now, speaking of which, I do kind of want to give you all a little bit of a disclaimer slash update. I haven't been around DBD as much, both kind of with making videos as well as streaming, and that is simply because of the fact that the queue times are just so incredibly long right now. It's anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes in queue that I have to wait to get into a match, and as some other people have showcased, right? A lot of survivors are very entitled. If things don't go their way, they will give up very quickly. And waiting 5 to 7 minutes to not really get to play a match because I go against people who just decide to throw the entire game because the win didn't come easy for them, right? It's just not really how I would want to spend my time. You know, it would be different when the queue times were shorter because it's like, whatever, right? Hook everyone, go next, 1 or 2 minutes in queue, right? Back into a game. But you factor anything from the survivors giving up on hook, survivors bringing incredibly ridiculous builds where I have to play out the matches that I otherwise would lose, right? Unless I just give up early too, but then I'm waiting 5 to 7 minutes anyways, right? It's just ultimately not a fun experience to play killer right now, especially if you play one of the killers that survivors don't want to play against. That's why I said I'm thinking about doing a video on this. I literally saw a couple threads on the front page of Reddit the other day of survivors just basically talking about how they feel like they run the game. That's a very polite way of phrasing it. And, I don't really want to go off topic, but that's kind of just where I've been, right? I do have some matches. I do want to get back into playing the game. And when I can actually play the game without waiting to play the game, y'all will see more of me playing the game. But back to the main topic, this is my Clown Community Lab. And if you haven't heard of this series, this is where I run the builds that you suggest. In every one of these videos, go into the comments section. In your comment, list 4 perks. And if your comment gets the most likes, then I will go into the replies to your comment, and the replies to your comments, which have 2 add-ons listed with the most likes, I will choose those add-ons. That is how you get your build showcased here. That is how we have these 4 perks and these 2 add-ons. And yes, this is a new player-styled clown build with the perks that are currently available to a new player clown. This is, again, to kind of really hone in on what I mean by this, let's assume you just bought Dead by Daylight, right? You have no other killer in the game prestiged. You have no other perks unlocked besides what the game hands to you, which are Clown's perks, his 3, what is it? It's Bamboozle. You have, oh my gosh, I'm not even on perks here. All you have access to are Clown's 3 original perks, Pop Goes the Weasel, Bamboozle, and Chlorophobia, as well as the other general perks, like Bitter Murmur, Deerstalker, Distressing, right? All of these perks here. And this is a build that y'all have suggested utilizing these perks, which means that anyone who does, if you were watching this video and you just got the game, all you got to do is put blood points into Clown and you can run this build. And let's go through the perks here. We have Sloppy Butcher. This is a really good perk for new players because a lot of times you can't fully commit to your chases. You have to just take that injury and you have to leave. And this can sometimes afford you a little bit of extra slowdown, both if they decide to heal, if they decide not to heal, and then because of that, you're able to punish them if you catch them out injured. This perk is really, really good, right? The idea behind it is that either survivors are not going to be as efficient, or you punish them for choosing to greed their health states. And that's kind of how I would suggest it. It's not just good if you don't break chases. Where is Sloppy also helpful? When you're successful in your chases and survivors unhook and they need to do their resets, they're going to be less efficient there. They're going to be possibly punishable if they choose not to heal because of the mangled effect, right? As you start to injure multiple survivors with Sloppy and they choose not to heal, you also enable snowball potential. You can possibly start slugging survivors instead of hooking them, and then that becomes your new win condition. So this is better than it may seem, but it used to be a whole lot better than it is now currently, since keep in mind, with only a 90-second duration, if you aren't able to punish survivors for greeting their health states, some survivors may choose to stay injured, punish you on your lack of map mobility, set on generators, wait out that 90-second timer, and then they'll heal afterward with no penalty. So that is the only real kind kind of main downside here that is really more accentuated because of the fact the clown doesn't have many mobility or macro tools. But next we have No One Escapes Death. This is kind of more of a late game perk. A lot of people don't suggest this perk for new players. And I'll be honest, while I do kind of understand that rhetoric, it's important as a new player to not feel hopeless. And part of that hopeless feeling comes from just not being able to compete against people that are better than you. And when you are brand new to the game, that's going to be borderline everyone, right? So unless you're just actually going to tell new players to suck it up and lose every single damn game that they played because they didn't bring a perk like NOED, which may or may not give them 1 or 2 kills, give them that win, give them that good feeling, right? Because it does feel good to get kills versus to not get kills, right? That is why this perk is, I would even personally argue, is fine to be in this build. It's okay to have some tools that get you the win in the end. I feel like what's very interesting to me about the rhetoric too, about this idea that NOED shouldn't be a tool that new players can use because of the fact that it doesn't help them learn, is that people don't care if you're new or if you're a veteran running NOED. They're going to hate you all the same, right? So why are we going to pretend that it's suddenly a problem for new players to run it? Yeah, I get the same level of hate when I run NOED, and I have 5,000 to 6,000 hours on Clown. So having a perk, especially in its current state with its level of counterplay where it's so easy for survivors to cleanse nowadays, I think it's fine to run. And this perk, as a new player, like I was saying, it will give you a kill or two that you probably wouldn't have gotten. And in the grand scheme of things, at the end of the day, right, this is a game about killing. So if you don't want to run this perk yourself, feel free to swap it with something like Pop Goes the Weasel. This will give you a lot more pressure during the mid game. You're able to get some instant regression for your successful chases. But keep in mind, right, one of the reasons too why Pop is not in this build, other than the fact that it was a suggested build, but also why I would even argue too why I would not include it, especially over something like Sloppy, is because, again, you're a new player. You're probably not going to be as successful in all of your chases, which is, again, that's where NOED is okay. Next, we've got Bamboozle. Bamboozle, personally, I don't really think vaulting on Clown it's not really that viable. There's not really many situations where, especially even if you vault 2, where you want the window blocking. There are probably some specific map tiles, right? Like independent ones where survivors do commit to the loop, but they are very niche. Killer Shack, you probably could do some plays, especially with yellows and pinks, using Bamboozle to shut down the window early. But even then, it's not really necessary. There are so many ways without this perk you can play Killer Shack using just Clown's power at base, especially with add-ons. So if there was definitely any perk that I had to change, because I know we were talking about swapping with NOED, personally, I really feel like it should be Bamboozle. But again, same philosophy applies here, right? When you're a new player, and you're just kind of looking for something to give you that support as you learn the game in other facets, because the game is not just about winning the window vaults, there are other parts of the game. So at least getting some help at the window tiles as you learn those other areas, that is where Bamboozle can help a new player. You can just shut down some of these window tiles, worry about learning how to play window tiles later, focus on the others until you're ready to take off Bamboozle, right? That's a good way when it comes to using this perk and how you would run it as a new player. And lastly, we have Bitter Murmur. And honestly, I think this might be one of the most beneficial perks in a build like this. And that is because Bitter Murmur tells you where to go. When you're new to the game, especially when you're playing Clown, a lot of doing well on Clown is game sense. You need to know what to do, and a lot of times, especially if you're running builds which don't have aura perks, you need to know what to do without having the tools for it. And as a new player, when you don't know what to do and you don't have the tools for it, that is why a lot of new players struggle, especially on Clown. Because if you're not doing super fantastic in your chases and you also don't know where you should be going or what you should be doing, well, guess what? You're going to lose without many hooks because you're not starting many chases, you're not having very successful chases, especially with the ratio compared to generator repair speeds. So that is where Bitter Murmur is very, very good for a new player in this build, especially in tandem with NOED. because Bitter Murmur is going to give you this R reading on completed generators. If you are not actively engaged in chase, that's where you know to go. And when the last generator is repaired too, again, going back to Noed, you're going to see all of the remaining survivors. So this means you know who is going to be your best target for No One Escapes Death. If they're in proximity to one another, you can again snowball by slugging. So this is a really great perk, not just because of the fact of how it helps a new player with learning and developing their game sense of where to go, but that synergy in the end game. And lastly, we've got 2 add-ons. The 2 add-ons chosen were Flask of Bleach and Bottle of Chloroform. Personally, I think these are also very great new player clown add-ons, not just because Flask of Bleach gives you that pink bottle boost, and when you are new to clown, you're likely going to be predominantly using only pink bottles, so getting a little bit more potency there is very, very great. Bottle of Chloroform too, a lot of new clown players don't probably necessarily know where they should be placing their bottles, how they should be throwing them, so just getting that larger radius, that also helps a lot when it comes to making sure that your bottles are getting slowdown, right? Because if you're throwing a pink bottle and it doesn't slow down the survivor, so you have to throw another pink bottle just to get one level of slowdown, that's very bad when it comes to bottle efficiency and the impact it has on your bottle economy. So not really having to deal with that as a new player as you kind of learn the ropes of the game, that's really great. If you are looking to be a little bit more bougie, you know, you want to upscale your add-ons, and instead of a bottle of chloroform, right, and you have access to it, either 15% would also be a great choice. This is a very common add-on combo, not just on very new players, but on some of the mid-level clown players that play clown a lot, but don't really feel comfortable using his yellow bottles. You know, this is really good for that because you're just getting the most out of your pinks. But yeah, we have Bottle of Chloroform and Flask of Bleach. One interesting, to my understanding on this, it doesn't specify radius, but in the event that when it says increases size by 20%, and that applies to the radius, that actually is on both sides of the bubble. So Bottle of Chloroform, I think, is a little bit deceptively better than people might think. Again, I still would prefer, if you have access to it, I would recommend taking either 15%. But going up against what y'all are going to see when it comes to gameplay, now, I will say this probably for the perspective of a new player didn't really give y'all the best understanding of what you'll be seeing. What I get at is that we didn't go against some inexperienced survivors. I went against some survivors that were very good at the game. So in the same way, you know, I had to adapt by playing really well. And when you're going against survivors that have 10,000 hours, and you know you're playing clown with a new player clown build, what I'm getting at is that new players probably won't be able to replicate the gameplay itself. And in the same manner, I also didn't really utilize some of the perks that a new player possibly would as well, right? Again, Bamboozle, I don't really fault Windows as an example, but the gameplay when it comes to the chases was amazing. I had probably some of the best bottle combo setups that I had done in a while. So when it comes to clown gameplay, y'all are going to like what you're going to see. These survivors, I think, had a combined 15,000 hours minimum. I know one of the survivors I played against before, I'm pretty sure they have comp experience. They have like 11,000 hours in DBD. They play so much Dead by Daylight. And if it wasn't for me knowing what to do, I definitely wouldn't have been able to beat this team, especially, again, you know, going back to the new player part, right? A lot of me winning was because of my experience. My build didn't help me out much at all in Chase, and all I really had going for me against them was pretty much Flask of Bleach. So I think that pretty much elaborates what's to be said there. Of course, we'll have the post-game commentary, and yeah, hope y'all enjoy the build. Oh my gosh, boomer thumbs, please. Here we go. Why do I feel like I recognize the Sable? They're who I think they are, then I'm pretty sure they are a really good player. Ooh, I really like her pathing here. Can she see me through? Yes, she can. She doesn't drop. Now she does. Oh, wow. I actually like her patience. I really like her patience. Please don't blind me. It's the fucking start of the game and I got a new player build. Oh! Thank you. Let's see. Yes, that is trivia. I'm gonna go ahead and kick this. Oh, I just remembered, we don't have to say the best for last for anything obsession related, so we can go for people like this, like the Speedo. So yeah, again, for people who don't know, this is like a new player build. I don't think I mentioned at the start of the match. So like, yeah, we're kind of running perks that typically aren't really, like, it's all you got, right? You just boot it up, you just boot up DBD for one of the first times ever. Oh my gosh, Boomer Thumbs, why? And yeah, you've got very little to work with. So you take these perks, right? Got a little bit of something for the late game with that Noed, a little sloppy, and... I have to say, you're not playing that. Oh my gosh, why do my thumbs gotta be so... We're not gonna reload yet in a situation like this. Ooh. She's nearby. We just heard her drop. I think she's beneath me. Pause. Alright, let me go see. I think that was Sable, too. It sounded like a Sable drop. Yeah, she dropped through the hole, I think. She might still be nearby, but we don't really have the mobility to consider wanting to stay there even if she was. I'm gonna go for Sable right now. Probably shouldn't, but I expect her to actually chain this. She's gonna keep running to the... Ooh. Oh, perfect. Perfectly placed fucking bottles. She's gonna leave. I think she's actually gonna go... What the fuck? Okay. Cross up. Beautiful, perfect. Hook, line, and sinker. Alright, so we've got a lot of injury split pressure. I do want to find someone else soon, but I'm gonna kick this, especially with it being near the hook. Pop would probably be really great here too, now that I think about it. We are getting some really fast chases. She's injured. I'm gonna put this right here. Ooh, I played that terribly. I needed a yellow for this. That's fine. She's gonna drop pallet if she's smart. You just try to dead hard, you little shit. You don't have a flashbang for this, I don't think. I don't think I saw in your hand. Yeah. We faked the red stain there. Notice how I just like, I kind of weaved in and out like that? Kind of like that at that doorway? That was what baited her to vault, because she was camping that shit, and she knows I move fast. She is panicky. She doesn't fully know how close I need to be to commit to the lunge, and she is so eager to get that early vault so she can loop back around to that doorway so she can make it back to the pallet, because she chose not to drop the pallet to begin with, and that's pretty much the only greedy play that she has to make. I purposefully took the pathing that I did because I knew they would split and I would catch one of these two survivors. Put this all the way around. She's going to rotate around. We get the extension and the refresh. GG's. Really great chases this match, I will say. We're gonna carry aggressively to this gen because I want to push them off. Oh, lovely. Kick this too. So that's basically, we just got 15% out of that. He is also hooked. He is definitely going to be running early. I'm going to go ahead and kick these pallets now. Get these out the way. Why not? Ooh, she's on death hook. You want a dead hard? I knew it, dude. Notice how that does compensate for mistakes. Fuck out of here if not otherwise. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. GG's though. She is a good player, by the way. I'm not saying she's bad or anything, because she definitely... That's the only reason I even knew. to fucking do some of the shit I did is because I knew. Oh, man. Where are we going? Oh, bitter Murmur value. We got a pallet right here. Put the pink right over here. She's gonna look to, oh my. Hide red stain, oh my gosh. Why do I gotta get fucking caught on everything? She's chaining from here. That art, no? Okay. That's a crow. Let's fucking go, though. See, staying injured against Clown can give you some really, really fast chases. Someone is nearby to do this. I'm gonna go ahead and just get rid of that, too. Very good gen recovery on their part. Oh my gosh, that's actually some of the best bitter Murmur value that I could have ever seen. I want to kind of bait her into thinking that she's got something going on over there. I now want to get these pinks set up right here because we know he's right there. Can I bottle or interrupt this? Oh my gosh, I would fucking... And I would! Dude, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Yeah, get the fuck back here, you little shit. About to say, this is a long wall. Bruh. Alright, everybody is injured, so we should be fine. I think we're still okay. I'm gonna hook him right here because of it being so far in this dead zone. Do y'all see this? If we are close enough for when this unhook does happen, it's gonna make it really hard for them to be able to really, realistically do anything. However, we don't really want to over proxy the hook because they're gonna be likely looking to reset, right? This is typically where we want to be nearby for that. Sloppy does. We're a little bit overextending though, because y'all see that crow? Come from this angle and it pushes them in a different direction. That is Sable. I might tunnel here. Ooh. I'm just gonna leave. I did not get my yellow. That's fine. Remember, this is a whole dead zone. Probably gonna slug here. That gen over there is probably... Okay, this is one of those situations where you just have to risk the DS. You just have to. We get this hook right here, and now... Don't hear any progress on that gen, we go this way. Because now, even if she does pop this gen, she's gonna be put herself into a dead zone. This is what I expected. Perfect timing. GG's very close game. The nice thing here too, by the way, even though she was injured and we have no ed, if she had adrenaline on that full heal, we could have still caught up to her with that extra haste, with our bottles, insta-down her through that heal, right? And that way, especially with her being on Death Hook, even if Sable does have this gate open, not only can she not body block, right? But there's pretty much, she can't take her speed boost to get to that exit gate. So we had a nice little safety net against adrenaline. She's probably looking for Hatch, which is fair. Very close game, though. Very close game. They had very good gen recovery near that latter half. I'm not gonna go ahead and reload right now until I can get line of sight again on that exit gate, because I feel like right now the time it took me to both check that gate and close the hatch, right? Seconds do add up. Gives her a lot of time as she was immersing on the side of the map to try to sneak this here. Don't really have the best line of sight. Okay, she gets out. Right. GG's. Let's see. I was about to say, hold on real quick. I swear. Oh yeah, I fucking knew it. Yeah, she's a good player. I thought I recognized her name. Yeah, shout out to that Sable. She's a really good player. So again, just to preface, I recognize pretty much every single one of these survivors. Maybe not the Veto, but I know I've played against the Sable at least 1 or 2 times. I played against the Cheryl as well, even though she's on Anon. I went and I checked to see kind of, there's a way you can kind of see who you played against. I don't want to kind of be specific, and I have played against the Cheryl and also the Sorella. And one of the things too funny about the Dead Hard, I'm almost 100% certain last time I played against the Sorella, they had Dead Hard as well. So these are all really great players. The Sable, again, over 10,000 hours of DBD. And this is kind of one of the things, I don't think I talked about it in this match. It's a concept I call key reading. When you go against survivors of varying levels of skill, you have to recognize basically what category that they belong in when it comes to their skill bracket. And with regard to that, you'll be able to understand what types of decision making they're going to make in chase, both at tiles, both when they choose to chain tiles and leave them, right? This is something where knowing the skill level of a survivor can help you down them a lot quicker, because unironically, right? If a survivor is in a different bracket than you might expect, well, then they might make a different decision than you expect and thus get value that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten if you had accurately predicted them. That is why you see me saying things like, oh, they're going to chain the tile, they're going to do this and that, right? And I'm pointing it out well in advance before they do it. I'll even do some things where it's like I fake the red stain and then I go back because I know that based on the bracket that I've put them in, their decision making, they're going to fall for it. So these are good players that through my own experience playing against really good survivors that I've been able to learn how to beat them in chase, even due to their experience. Because one thing to take into account, y'all, these survivors haven't played the clown survivor matchup nearly as much as I have. I know a lot more tricks than they do. And this means that a lot of times I'm playing further ahead when it comes to steps than they are. So they played really well, all things considered. Again, especially the Sorella, even though she had Dead Hard, and I kind of made some comments on it. But this is just something where a difference of experience, even with skill, can kind of give you that edge. And I would honestly say that's probably the largest contributing factor as to why I did so well with a build like this against a team like them. Because these were really good survivors. I didn't really have the necessary optimal regression and slowdown in order to deal with their efficiency had I played not as perfectly as I did. And it was only because of the fact that I made sheer very little mistakes in my chases and my bottle placement, right? That I was able to overcompensate for, the weaknesses of my build. Because again, sloppy doesn't really matter much against a team like this if you're not capitalizing on the greed, if you're not having fast chases coming back and then punishing them for staying injured. Because these survivors, if you injure them, this level of survivors, and you aren't able to capitalize on a chase with a different survivor afterward, they're going to outweight that mangled and hemorrhage. They're going to heal one another after completing the generators. And it's what I talked about earlier with how you get punished running sloppy. These survivors are at the level where they can manage that. However, again, when you have great chases, when survivors do fall behind on gen progression, one interesting thing that I noticed is that sometimes it's almost like survivors don't have the option to heal. Because we were actually doing so well at one point where it almost seemed as if the survivors didn't have enough gens to bother saying, if we heal, we're going to get them done in time. We had at one point, I think, 3 survivors injured when they had 2 to 3 generators remaining. They ended up cranking out those generators to get down to 1 generator remaining, and they only just barely popped it following the Cheryl's decision to stay injured. And if Cheryl had chosen to heal coming off that hook, she probably wouldn't have had nearly as much progress. She probably would not have gotten the gen done before I had gotten there, and being forced to have to leave the generator in order to take chase means that unless Sable herself rotated to finish the generator, I probably would have gotten 4 kills because I would have hooked Cheryl before Sable finished the generator. When Sable did finish the generator, I would have been able to find her with Bitter Murmur, and then regardless of her health states, regardless of any immersion tool she could have had following that point, all it would take is 1 tap, and that's all she wrote. So, these survivors in the macro came very close to beating me, even with how well I played in chase. And that's kind of why I was a little bit kind of skeptical talking about this build in relation to a new player showcase, I'm probably when Five Nights at Freddy's comes out, I'm going to do another new player build. But this was the clown community suggestion, so I do have to acquiesce that. And so I hope y'all enjoyed it. That we had, again, some of the best chases that I've had on clown in a very long while. I hope there's at least some notes y'all could take and learn from that. And, again, I'm going to be looking to do more content with DVD, both in streaming on YouTube once these queue times improve. I've been enjoying my break. The break has been healthy for me, I've just been both, like I said in the last video, kind of handling some things in what I guess better appropriate time than when I can't really play the game much to begin with, right? The queue times are just so bad in addition to survivors giving up and whatnot. But, I will be very much so back soon, and I do have some content for you guys this week still for YouTube. I'm going to be looking to get some more YouTube videos out as well. But, let me see. Anything else I need to remark on? Oh yeah, again, as a reminder, if you're still not really sure how to participate in the Clown Community Lab, all you have to do is in your comment include 4 perks. You don't have to make your comment only 4 perks, just make sure to put it in there. If you want to talk about your build too, by all means. And whichever comment gets the most likes, that's going to be the 4 perks that I choose. And in the replies to your comment, whichever reply that also includes 2 add-ons gets the most likes, I will be running those 2 add-ons with your build. And y'all will see that very likely next week. So, hope y'all really enjoyed this match. If you're interested in learning how to play clown better, I have a very detailed clown guide that'll be sure to link in the description. And also, when I do stream DVD, I stream live on Twitch, usually during the weekdays. Again, I'll be doing that more when the queue times improve on usually Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'll have a link to my stream in the description as well. But other than that, I hope y'all really enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Later, gang.